Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video presentation. Today we are going to be covering Retail Pro 9 Employee Management. My name is Charlie West. I am a support technician for Canadian Retail Solutions. Our contact information or my contact information is up on the screen right now. And of course, if you have any questions after viewing the video, you can contact us at the number on the screen, or the general support email inbox is support@retailbycrs.com. So today we're going to be covering employee management, but more specifically groups and employees. We're going to save commission, sales targets, and time shifts for another video. So I just want to give kind of a focus on the basics, which is the employees and the groups in regards to employee management. As we work with customers, we still find some clients who are allowing all the users to use a single employee or login for Retail Pro. Okay, and there's a number of reasons why that's a bad idea. So first and foremost is security. You don't have the ability to see which user created each individual document. Even if you're assigning different associates to sales, you still can't tell who was logged in if they're all using sysadmin at the time that it was created. So if you have an issue with discounts being issued, if there are some questionable adjustments in the system, the discounts for, 50% or more, vouchers that have been removed from the system, really anything that's going on that maybe you need to look into and follow up with someone on why it's happening. You can't do that if everybody's sharing a login for Retail Pro, at least not nearly as easily. The second reason is using individual users opens you up to some extra features in Retail Pro, like commissions and employee level sales targets. So you can create commissions where employees are assigned to different receipts, and at the end of the month you can run a commission report and see how much commission each employee has earned. Okay, you can set up sales targets for those same employees, and as they accumulate sales, you can watch them, grow towards their sales targets or their performance. All right. Finally, it's just for training. So, you're going to notice mistakes made in the system. It could be a voucher that was entered incorrectly. It could be a receipt, inventory items. You want to be able to find out who created these items, these documents in the system, so you can follow up with them if there's ever a mistake or you have some questions on it. Okay, it becomes a lot harder if you're trying to say, okay, it was created on Monday, who was working Monday, and then asking everybody, did you do this? As opposed to just having every document, confidently created by the person who was there in front of the machine at the time. Okay, so the first thing we're going to go into today is employees. And we're going to create a brand new user in the system so you can see how it's done. You can see here is a list of the current employees or users in Retail Pro, and I'm going to press new from the top left in order to create a new one. And we're going to be taken to form view for Retail Pro, where I can fill in all the relevant contact information. There's some extra employee details and even some custom fields if we need them. So we're just going to focus on the basics today. So let's go ahead and create a pretend user. Just give them a bit of fake contact info. And okay, so the first main field we get to here is login name. So login name is the name that they use when Retail Pro asks you to log in. So it doesn't have to be the same as their first and last name. It doesn't have to be the same as their employee, which we'll talk about in a minute. It could be something very simple so that it's quicker for them to log in. So maybe instead of Jason or Jay West, you tell them, okay, your employee number 31, and their login name is 31. And their password might be, for now, I'm just going to keep it 31, but who knows what you might set their password to be. Require password change. This checkbox underneath here, this is an interesting one. It's very handy. What this means, with it checked off, the first time Jason West, login 31, logs in, it will ask him to choose a new password. So that's a nice way where you can say, okay, your login name in Retail Pro is 31, your password is 31. When you log in, it will ask you to set a new password. Okay, so I'm going to leave that checked. System administrator as well. So system administrator is on here. It basically overrides all their security groups and gives them permission to access everything in the system. It's very rare you're going to check system administrator, only in the case of, usually the owner when they create their login. Okay, finally, we've got employee. This is what is going to show up on every document that this user creates. So if they create a receipt, a purchase order, sales order, it's going to say whatever this employee is on here. So they let you have that different from the login name and the first name. So, in case you want to disguise that name, so you could put in their 31 code there again, then other staff members and customers aren't going to be able to see the name if for some reason that's something you'd like to do. Or you might put in, we have 31 as the login name, but you might want them to see Jason W on all their documents. Make it nice and easy to find out who created it. Okay, and the customers can come in and say, oh, I was talking to Jason earlier. Okay, employee code, if you have a unique number for your employees, you can put that in here. In this case, we'll say that this is employee number 31, and I'll just put a 31 in. That number just has to be unique from every other user in the system. Next, I have some employee details. So you can see active and enabled are checked off by default. This is a new customer, so it's just assuming that they're both active and enabled. If you need to, you can disable this employee while keeping them in the system by unchecking those boxes later on. There's a hire date field if you want to put in the date they were hired. You can put in a job title if you wish. All this information is totally up to you if you want to put it in or not. Till name and drawer name, those are for stores that use multiple tills in their systems. And it's very rare, so I'm not going to get too far into it. Same with the home store, district, and region. That's mostly for multi-store companies that have maybe multiple subsidiaries with separate districts and regions inside them. More complicated than we need to get into today. If you're a single store or a small multi-store operation, you don't need to worry about any of these fields. The most important one you might find, aside from the contact and login info, is the max discount percentage. So Retail Pro has the security permissions to decide whether or not the user can give a discount, but those permissions do not govern how much of a discount they can give. That's all controlled right here on the employee page. So I can set Jason up that he is allowed to discount items at the till, but maybe as a new employee, I want to max that discount out at 15%. Okay, anytime Jason tries to discount something more than 15%, it will ask for the login name of someone who has more permissions than him in order to override that. All right, so he will be limited to a 15% maximum discount. Underneath that, we have member of group, and it's completely empty. So that is because we have not added Jason to any security groups as of yet. Once we do, those will govern which permissions Jason is allowed to do within the system, so what he can access in RPro, and it will show up on here what groups he is a part of. On the right, we have the user-defined fields. You can set these up in your system preferences for anything you want. You can change the names and titles, and you can have drop-down lists of options to choose from. So whatever else it is that you want to record about the employees, we have over 20 customizable fields here for you to choose from. At this point, I have all the basic information. I'm just going to press save, and this new employee has been created. If I go back to my list view, I can see that Jason has been created with login number 31. And on the right-hand side, I have a little button called Store Assignment. Okay, so if you do have multiple stores, you can limit your employees to only being able to log in at specific locations. So maybe Jason is in San Francisco, and I have no reason for him to ever be able to log into the other stores. And I don't want them, for some reason, to be putting that username and code in and maybe guessing the password, or he tells someone and using his login at a different store. So I'm just going to disable Jason from being able to log in anywhere but San Francisco. All right, so that is totally a possibility. In this case, I'll just leave them all active. All right, so created our user. Let's go ahead and try and log in as Jason. Okay, so again, I created his login as 31 and the password was 31. So we'll log in. This is that message that I had mentioned. Because I had, change password checked, the first time user Jason logs in with his username 31, it's going to ask him to change his password. So we'll put in the old one and a new one and confirm it, and that password has now been changed. So that allows you to assign a password that then they can immediately replace with their own unique password once they've logged in. Okay, I am now logged in as user 31 in the bottom, which is Jason. And we can see a number of features are already grayed out. So receipts, sales orders, register, open and close are all gone. And if I click on any of these main headings from the top of my Retail Pro menu, everything is grayed out. Jason is not a part of a user group yet, which would determine what permissions he has for Retail Pro. So everything is locked out. Whenever you see something in gray in Retail Pro, it's usually a good indicator that that user doesn't have permission to access it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and log back in as sysadmin, and we'll go through the groups process and assigning Jason to a security group. All right, so I'm back to log in as sysadmin. All my options are back. Let's go into security groups. So again, employees are the logins or the users for Retail Pro. Groups are the permissions that control what those employees can do inside Retail Pro. There are hundreds and hundreds of different individual permissions. Retail Pro 9 is, world-class point of sale software. It is very specific and allows you to be completely, detailed in what permissions you give your users access to. By default, it comes with 5 kind of generic or default security groups to get you started. So we have store managers, which is a mix of the back office and point of sale users with some extra permissions. Point of sale users, which will let them perform basic sales functions, but no receiving, no back office work. Back office, which will let you do the receiving and back office work, adjustments and transfers, but no sales. Buyers, which is more about giving you access to seeing inventory and purchase orders and sales orders, and system administrators, which gives you access to everything in the system. So for today, we're going to focus on point of sale, and I'll give you a little look at how it's set up. So this is my list view of my security groups. I'm going to click on form view to see more details. So there's 2 tabs on here. My group name is POS, the description point of sale users. My members tab shows that this group has the member J Smith, and the users I have in the system that are not part of this group are user login 31, C West, and sysadmin. Okay, and I just double click these names to move them back and forth between the not group members and the group members boxes. You can also select them and use the arrows below as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and put 31 in our group members. Now, if we want to see specifically what permissions are available to this group, that's on the permissions tab. Okay, so on the right here are the permissions in Retail Pro. And we can see that there are hundreds and hundreds. We can scroll through this for quite a while. Okay, Retail Pro at least has grouped them up into subcategories to make it a bit easier to find what you're looking for. So in this case, I'm going to go into receipts because we're in the point of sale users, and we'll cover a bit of the different permissions that are on here. Okay, so for example, Jason has access to receipts, but he does not have access to change the date on a new receipt. That is marked as an override. So we have 3 columns over here: permission, override, and log event. So permission means that they can perform that function. Override means that it will prompt them for someone with a higher security group to log in, and then they'll be able to do that function. So if Jason needs to change the date on a new receipt, a login window would show up, It would need a manager or someone with higher permissions to log in, and then he would be able to change the date. That person who logged in would need to have permission to change the dates on receipts on their security group. Okay, there are, even just for receipts, there are still many, many permissions. So it is quite daunting at first. You can totally contact CRS to help us give you a hand with what you're looking for, if it's a specific permission or a, maybe a group of permissions that you want to add or remove access for your staff. Okay. A couple more that are important on here, issue store credit. So in this case, new users under point of sale cannot even issue store credit to clients. Maybe that's something we do often. We don't do gift cards or refunds. It all goes on to store credit. I might need to take that off override and put that on as a permission for this group. Open a cash drawer on no sale. Okay, so if you get people come in, you need change or whatnot, for some reason you need to be able to open the cash drawer without a cash sale. Then they might need that permission for all your users. But if you don't, if you have a policy against it, then we might put that on override only. Okay, once you've made the changes to the group and we're on the point of sale group, we just press save. We can see number 31 is a part of this group. We edited some permissions there. Now, if I log back in as Jason, user 31, he will have access to all the point of sale permissions of that group I assigned him to. There's also a policy tab up at the top, which I'll touch on quickly. It just has a couple options related to every user, regardless of what group they're in. So for instance, enforce strong password, and it's disabled. Enforce strong password will require them to have a mix of letters and numbers in their password. Okay, you can also set a password to expire after a certain amount of time. So maybe you want employees to choose a new password every 90 days and some other features on here as well. So those policies are separate from groups. The security group policies apply to every user, regardless if they're system administrator or not. Okay, so let's go ahead and log back in as Jason. We're going to log out as sysadmin. Log in as Jason. Now I have access to the receipts, sales orders, register, open, and close. If I click on purchasing or merchandise, I can still see some of these extra features are grayed out. So I still don't have permission to do everything. I'm in the point of sale group, and even inside vendors, departments, and inventory, specific functions are going to be blocked off to me. So maybe as a point of sale user, I need to be able to go into inventory, look up items, see what's in stock at other stores, but I can't create a new item. So new, inactivate, edit, save, cancel, copy, those are all grayed out to me. A user in this group, I don't have to worry about them accidentally pressing new and creating blank items or inactivating items by accident, okay? Because they don't have access to that function in the first place. I can also see, and this is one of the most popular functions of the security groups, is that this user can't see cost or margin. Okay, for a lot of companies, you're justifiably concerned about the staff seeing your costs and your margins. All right, it's often, not relevant to them in their position, or they have a misguided idea about those numbers. And so we often get requests to help create security groups where the staff can't see the cost or margin. In this case, the default POS group in Retail Pro 9 is restricted from that information. Anytime you see an asterisk in Retail Pro 9, it means that information is blocked to your user. Okay, so cost and margin just show up as a series of asterisks instead of the actual numbers. As soon as I log in as my sysadmin or a user who has access to those fields, the real numbers are visible. Okay, so just because they can access purchasing, vouchers, purchase orders, merchandise inventory, doesn't mean they can do everything related to those functions. All right, so inventory, they can't create new, inactivate, can't see costs. I open vouchers, they can see the vouchers in the system, but the information, copying them, reversing them, creating vouchers is all blocked off. And we can even see they can't even see the total of the vouchers because that's voucher totals are related to cost and they can't see the cost of items. Okay, so I want to talk about a couple system preference permissions before we finish up for today that you might be interested in. And to do that, I'm going to have to log back in as sysadmin. So under sysadmin, we have our local preferences, and then we have employees and security, high security. So what high security is, and we have high security on receipts enabled here, is it forces you to log in every time a document is created. So anytime receipts are created, I can enable high security in every area. And what that does is it's a good way to ensure that whoever is using the system is logged in. If you create all these individual users, but you don't turn on high security, what you'll find happens is that someone logs in the morning, and if they forget to log out, everybody else just uses their login. Okay, high security forces people to log in consistently throughout the day whenever a document is finished. And it's a really good way of making sure that the proper user is logged in for whatever they're working on. The other permission that might be interesting is this force user to select associate on a new receipt. So what that does is when you create a new receipt, it will ask you which associate you want on the receipt. And that's important for businesses where the staff who are cashing the customer out is maybe different from the staff member that assisted the customer, and you want to record who assisted the customer on the sale. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press update. We'll have a quick look at this. Under receipts, and then new. And when I create that new receipt, I should be prompted for the associate on here. Okay, so first thing that pops up, select up to 5 associates. So you can have up to 5 people recorded on this receipt. And that's especially important if you have commissions and you maybe need to split the commissions on an order. So we can see Jason W is available for me to choose on here as the associate for this receipt, which is different from the user or cashier who's logged in, which is sysadmin in the bottom left. So I'll press OK for Jason. We'll quickly complete an order. And you can see from the design of my receipt form there that that's a very customized form view for my receipt. And we talked about that in a previous video, screen design and layouts. So if you're interested in all that's going on here with the colors, coordination, and the logos and such, you could check out that previous video on our YouTube channel. In this case, I'm just going to quickly complete this receipt. We'll say it's cash and update the sale. And I'm prompted to log in again. So that's the high security kicking in. Hey, somebody finished a document. I want the next person to log in to make sure that the right person is logged into Retail Pro. Okay, so I log in again as sysadmin. It wants to create a new receipt. I'll just cancel this one. Now, because a document got canceled, just like if one was completed, it wants the user to log in again, and that's okay. I'll exit back up to the main menu. Okay, the final permission that you might be interested in is available under your Workstation Preferences, and that is the automatically lock Workstation 1. So if the user doesn't complete a document, they're not prompted to log out. But this Workstation preference, if I set it to 5 minutes, means that the system is inactive for 5 minutes, it will log that user out automatically. So maybe they were just looking around in vouchers for some information or looking at inventory, not creating any documents, and they walk away from the machine. This gives it 5 minutes. If no one uses it, it logs them out automatically. So you don't have the next person sit down, maybe take up under their login, realize they're in the login, and get up to who knows what. Okay, it's just another way of ensuring that whoever is in using Retail Pro is the user that is currently logged in, so you can track things on your end. You know who is logged in at any time. Okay, so just as a general summary again, and I'll update this. Employees are the users who log into Retail Pro, and the associates you can choose from on your receipts. Groups are the security groups that govern what permissions your employees have. So those employees must be assigned to security groups that control what they can do in the system. And then you have system preferences and workstation preferences that allow you to control or try and more accurately make sure that whoever is using the system is the one that's logged in. Okay, so we will cover commissions and sales targets in the next video. I just wanted to do one specifically to employee groups and users today. If you have any questions, of course, our Platinum clients can call us at any time from the phone number listed or email us at support@retailbycrs.com. If you're not a Platinum customer with us, you can grab some support hours from our store on the website, and we'd be more than happy to assist you with any of this. All right, thank you very much. Again, my name is Charlie West for CRS, and thanks for watching our video.